Hey you, if you're enjoying the podcast, do us a favor and go into your podcast app right now and tap the subscribe button so you never miss another episode. And if you're into reading, go to weirdtruecrime.com to get written versions of the cases we cover on the show, along with extra visual content. All the fun happens on social media, so come talk to us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok at our handle @WeirdTrueCrime. And I know it's a giant pain, but it would mean the world to us if you would take 2 minutes to leave us a rating and review. We'll be sure to give you a shout out on future episodes.
Darkcast Network. The light shines brightest on our indie podcasts.
Hey y'all, I'm Gina.
And I'm Amber.
Welcome back to Weird True Crime. And today we're going to be talking about a couple of different cold cases that we're excited to get into with y'all. But first, Amber, how are things going with you? Anything you want to catch everybody up on?
Oh, well, now that Texas has finally gotten with the program and we're experiencing our first round of slightly cold weather, my voice has decided that it's going to periodically check out on me. So if I sound like I've been tossed through a garbage disposal, apologies in advance.
You know what? It's fine. I bet a lot of us are feeling like that right now in Texas. So I've got a little bit of phlegm myself. So we're probably going to be in this boat together.
It's fine. We'll navigate it together. But I am extremely happy that it's finally getting cold. Like, cold is my happy place.
I know. I am freezing in my house and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Exactly.
Yeah. The smell of the heater just permeating throughout the air vents. It's been like, I'm like, oh, it's finally fall in Texas. What is happening?
Yay.
Yay. For all of us here that deal with this hot ass weather all the time, like you all can relate to how we're feeling right now.
I don't have sweat in uncomfortable places constantly anymore. It's amazing.
Oh my God, I feel comfortable in my clothes. This is wonderful. Yes. I may be a little hoarse too because the weekend was very long and full of lots of loudness and a birthday party where I had to basically yell to be heard for hours yesterday. So my voice is also a little shot, but I'm very glad that my 7-year-old had a great time at the aquarium and he got to pet some lemurs and he got to feed a porcupine and see some ducks. And there was this giant turtle just like walking around the aquarium with this balloon tied to its back, like up in the air with his name on it. So it's just like you'd kind of be walking through looking at the different exhibits and here comes this turtle just like walking by.
Or just off in the distance, you'd see this balloon floating through the air like, oh, hey, buddy.
Yeah, I think his name was Sparky. It was like, hi, I'm Sparky. Like, don't touch me. But, I'm just making its way through. There was one point where he tried to get into the parakeet exhibit. So one of the handlers had to call and be like, hey, can somebody come get Sparky out of the parakeet exhibit? Because apparently he has like eaten a couple of the birds before because the birds will be on the ground.
Oh, sad.
I know. So like come save the birds from Sparky, the giant turtle.
Sparky's living his best life.
He really was. It was actually pretty amazing. I was like, oh, there goes the balloon again. Like, oh, it was really fun. So it was definitely worth it, but my voice is feeling it today.
It's safe to say that the cases we talk about aren't going to necessarily have a happy ending since we're obviously talking about them for a reason. But sometimes there is no ending at all, and a case gets cold, leaving the families to wonder what happened to their loved ones or loved one for many, many years. First up, we're going to talk about a sweet lady named Miriam Ruth Hemphill, who is 84 years old and went by her middle name, Ruth. Unfortunately, not much information is available about her personal life, but her husband, Bill, described her as a great companion and a sportswoman. According to him, she had a really great memory and knew more sports statistics and information than half of the men he knew, which I think is pretty amazing.
That's really awesome.
Her friend said she was very active. She played bridge and she was heavily involved in her church. She led a very active social life. She was described as relatively petite lady, around 5 foot to 5'3", and about 110 to 115 pounds. When I look at the few pictures I found of her online, she really does look just like the sweetest little grandma with maybe a touch of sass included.
She really does. She's just this tiny little lady who looks like she has such a huge personality behind that smile in those pictures. She does. She looks like she was just a really awesome person.
Yep. Early on the morning of July 22nd, 2005, she left her home in her vehicle, a bronze beige colored 1999 Buick LeSabre. After being gone all day and no signs of her returning, her husband, William Bill Hemphill, called the Oak Ridge Police Department that evening around 6:30 and reported her missing. The police put out a bolo on her vehicle, and an ad was put in the Knoxville News Sentinel offering a $1,000 reward to the person that finds her. The police said they checked into her financial records and there was no bank activity or credit card usage. She only had about a half tank of gas in her car, so she couldn't have gone very far. Bill stated that she had very little money with her and she didn't take any other clothes, so she wasn't expected to be gone for an extended period of time. He did tell police, though, that he had found a note. What exactly was written on the note is unknown, where she referred to their daughter who had passed away a few months prior. On March 25th, 2005, their daughter, 44-year-old Connie Hemphill Skopik, was found dead in her vehicle in a university parking lot in Dayton, Ohio. Her cause of death was ruled a suicide. He had also located a newspaper clipping Ruth had cut out talking about someone who drove their vehicle into a lake. The police had searched all nearby lakes and rivers searching for her vehicle, but found nothing other than some other stolen vehicles. Over time, since they had essentially done everything within their power to find her and no new information had surfaced, the case went cold. Eventually, Bill moved out of the home he shared with his wife, and life continued, missing her each day. During a phone interview with the Oak Ridger in July 2009, 4 years after her disappearance, he said, "Life is no fun," and that he can't dwell on it. "I can't imagine how heartbreaking it would be to say goodbye to your wife only to never see her again and never hear from her again." He also said during the interview, quote, "Something comes up each day to remind me of her," end quote. Yet at that time, he also believed she was deceased and that she had driven her car into a lake, a theory shared by Oak Ridge Police Department Detective Bill Griffith, who had been investigating her disappearance from day one back in 2005. Sadly, Bill passed away peacefully at home with family on June 22nd, 2016, at the age of 95, still wondering what happened to his wife.
That's so devastating. You think, oh, she's just leaving to go run an errand in another town or something for a couple hours, and then she just never comes back. And the fact that she left a note, even though we don't know what it says, along with the news clipping, but we don't know for sure that he found the note and the news clipping at the same time either, do we? No. Because it doesn't say that. It just says he found a news clipping that she had cut out, but not that it was with the note.
Not that it, I think it was just more of a, when trying to go through her stuff to see, what, any kind of clues, probably whenever they were searching through financial records, because back then a lot more stuff was still paper, not as electronic as we are today. So I'm thinking that during that search or something, he already had the note, which she had talked about. I mean, I can't imagine losing a child, even if you're older. It doesn't matter. That child is always going to be your baby, and to lose your baby in a manner of suicide is also devastating. So for her to be referring about, maybe she had just mentioned that she missed Connie, or whatever. Since we don't know exactly, but that, and then whenever he stumbled across that newspaper clipping later on, maybe that was something that she did. She kept track of things that happened in their community, or it was because
it was her, maybe she saw it and it was an idea to her for kind of how to handle her grief, and she cut it out. Maybe she cut it out for him to find later as a sign of something, what happened to her. I do want to make a note that There was a lot of frustration when researching this because Amber and I could not find any information about Miriam Ruth Hemphill's life and who she was, or any of her other children, or, her childhood. We couldn't even find a birthday for her.
Very, very little personal information. And that's fine. I mean, the family probably didn't want it put out there, and we're just relaying what little information that we had.
From what we can tell, she was a really, really great woman who loves life and the church and her husband and her family. And it sounds like the passing of her daughter was obviously very, very hard on her, even in her 80s, which is, I couldn't imagine living my whole life and being in my 80s and still losing a child before I passed on. So I'm sure that was just more than she could bear.
Devastating.
The second case we're going to talk about today also takes place in Tennessee back in April of 2000. So we're going to talk about Erin Lee Foster, who was born February 28th of 1982 in Sparta, Tennessee, to parents Cecil Erin and Leanne Williams Foster. She was a student at White County High School who aspired to become an airplane mechanic once she graduated, which is super awesome. And I love seeing, especially as a woman in the 80s, wanting to aspire to be an airplane mechanic. That's so cool. She was described as a perfectionist, whether it was helping her mother around the house or assisting her dad with mechanic work. She had a younger brother named Will, who she was very protective over as well. Jeremy Lee Bechtel was born November 7th of 1982 in Smithville, Tennessee, to parents Ronnie Lee Bechtel and Rhonda England Bechtel Ledbetter. He had two brothers, Ricky and Dusty. He also went to school at White County High School with Erin and loved music and playing sports. On April 3rd of 2000, Erin and Jeremy went to a party together in White County. At some point, they left to go pick up Erin's brother Will at an arcade and drop him off at home. They left Erin's house again and planned on heading back to the party. Ronnie, Jeremy's father, spoke with his son around 9 o'clock that night. The two were last spotted in Erin's 1988 Pontiac Grand Am around 10 p.m. The following morning, when Erin didn't return home, her mother called her father, Cecil, and told him she wasn't there. Cecil, knowing Erin was 18 and very independent, reassured her and told her Erin would probably be home within a few days. The two teens were officially reported missing a week after they had last been seen. Erin's parents and Jeremy's parents both said their children's rooms were never searched, and the police ended up following up leads that didn't really have a connection to either of them, resulting in a lot of dead ends. Investigators focused on the area of the county where the party had been, but didn't spend any time searching for the teens closer to home. Rumors and reports were spread that Erin and Jeremy were murdered and that their bodies were abandoned near a well site, prompting the police to dig up several wells, searching to no avail. There were also other theories, like a robbery gone wrong, someone killed them out of jealousy, possibly a drug deal gone wrong, or that they had just simply ran off together. Jeremy's mother told a news station in 2012 that she didn't believe the pair ran away, stating, "You need money to go on the run. Both of them worked, and neither picked up their last paychecks, and none of their personal belongings are missing. I don't believe they got out of White County that night." Unfortunately, she died before getting any closure about her son's disappearance. 2 different times, the police received tips that Erin was alive and working in Florida. The authorities followed up but never found her and assumed it was just a case of mistaken identity. No new information was ever discovered, and the case eventually went cold. Erin's best friend, Amy, created a page on Facebook in memory of Erin and Jeremy on December 13th of 2013, where she shared pictures of the two to help spread awareness and to hopefully help them find and bring them home. It's just another really sad case of 2 people going to do something fun one night and never being seen again, and leaving so many unanswered questions for their loved ones.
That's the thing about both of these cases, is they were in vehicles and they just vanished. Normally, if somebody, they're in their car and they vanish, the car is the first thing that they find. And then they're able to get clues from the vehicle to help find what happened to them. But the fact that they and their vehicle both have just vanished without a trace, it's insane.
And it's very unheard of because, like you said, most of the time when we see or hear about these missing persons cases, some of which that we're so familiar with, there's so many clues left in the car. The car is crashed. It's left on the side of the road. There's, personal belongings left in the vehicle, like that person was going somewhere, or there's receipts or some sort of sign that they were up to something. Yep. But they were just, in their car going to a known or unknown destination in Miriam's case, and just gone, just poof, vanished off the face of the earth. And it's terrifying to think that something like that can happen to anyone.
Yep.
Before we get into the next part of this story, we're going to take a quick ad break, and we'll be right back.
Hey there, it's Audrey, producer at Spike and Crown Studios. Now's your chance to support a 3D animated horror film and get some awesome rewards in return. Check out spikeandcrown.com and visit our Kickstarter to make a pledge. You'll get our cutest dog, Sancho, the heroic basset hound, in full plush form. He's super cuddly, has a magnet nose, and comes with a real pet collar. Best of all, you can get producer credit, limited edition trading pins, digital collectibles, and much, much more. Check us out at spikeandcrown.com. That's SPIKEANDCROWN. There's a link at the top so you can visit our Kickstarter page, watch the trailer, claim these amazing rewards, and become a horror film producer. Isn't that cool? Once again, it's spikeandcrown.com, and we're live on Kickstarter.
Now, what do these two cases have in common? We briefly touched on it, talking about the vehicles. But for these two specifically, both of the vehicles involved were discovered by a YouTuber named Jeremy Sides. He's not a professional private investigator by any means. After high school, he joined the Navy, worked in aviation, hydraulics, and then went to tech school before working in the automotive industry. Now he is a married father of two in Ackworth, Georgia. Back in 2016, he created his YouTube channel for metal detecting, just as kind of a fun little hobby. He started out searching for Civil War relics in the woods and creeks around Ackworth. His friends at work gave him the nickname Nug as a joke, saying he was looking for gold.
I love it. I didn't realize at all at first what Nug meant. I was like, Nug, that's so stupid. And I was like, gold nugget. Yeah.
Gold Nug. Over time, his channel evolved and he started earning enough YouTube revenue to give up his business repairing cars. So he was able to devote full time to his channel, Exploring with Nug. I think it's funny that he kept the nickname and
it stuck. Yep.
He started out scouring trash out of rivers and finding all sorts of stuff: abandoned guns, pipe bombs, occasional diamond ring, and vintage bottles. Eventually, he invested in sonar equipment and scuba gear to take his searches underwater. His wife, Candace, coordinates research into possible cases using the National Missing and Unidentified Persons System website and the Charlie Project. He cross-references cases that involve a vehicle in a town with multiple creeks and rivers, just like the two cases we've talked about. He says that 9 times out of 10, a missing car or truck is underwater. And most often, he doesn't contact the families beforehand because he doesn't want to give them false hope that he'll bring them the answers they've been looking for or shove a camera in their face.
I think it's kind of him to do that, not give them false hope. But at the same time, I wonder how the families feel after the fact, knowing that this stranger is going out searching. I mean, I'm sure in the end, they're just grateful to have the help.
Well, the way that I looked at it is, yes, I 100% agree by, keeping to himself so he's not giving any false hope. But sometimes talking to the family, if he's just doing research like we do, talking to the family can give a lot more insight, a lot more information. So what if the family had some sort of information that may help him look in a better place?
Exactly.
Then
instead of wasting resources and time in places where there's no way they could be.
But I think outweighing it, I think that he does it it would be the way that I would do it, or the way that I would want it done. I wouldn't want to know if, he looked, thank you for your time, I appreciate it, but I don't want to know. I don't want to get false hope.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it from both sides for sure.
Yeah.
On November 6th, 2021, Jeremy posted a video to his YouTube page talking about Ruth's case and capturing the details of when he went to Oak Ridge, Tennessee to try to locate her vehicle. In the video, he states that he has not been in contact with any of her friends or family or the authorities, but he was at a location that he thought was the most obvious location. He and Britton from the YouTube channel Depths of History searched the river to find a vehicle. They find a vehicle about 25 feet under the surface. However, it's not Miriam's, but a 1980s Honda Civic. Jeremy posted a follow-up video on November 13th of 2021, but it was originally recorded on November 10th. In this video, he and Britton found two cars near each other in Melton Hill Lake. They marked the cars by sinking magnets attached to ropes that attach to the cars. Jeremy and Britton then dive down into the lake, following the ropes until they make their way to the cars. Because they have been sitting underwater for so long, the cars are covered in mussels. Jeremy wipes away the mussels from the license plate, revealing the number ABA 676, which is Miriam's plate number. The way Jeremy and Britton react to the realization that it's her car is so sweet. You can hear them yelling through their diving gear while they give each other thumbs up and put their heads in their hands in disbelief. It was such a sweet moment watching those videos when they realized that they actually had found her car. They're just, oh my God, it's her. We found her. We can take her home. Yeah, all the
goosebumps.
All the goosebumps. It was such a sweet moment, and you can tell how genuinely invested they are in helping to solve these cases and find these people. And it was such a sweet moment, and I just cheered for them so hard in that moment that they actually found her and did what they were setting out to do. It was so cool.
And you can tell whenever they're doing this, they're not doing it for most people don't even know about any of this. Most people don't know about their channels. Most people don't know about it. So they're not trying to do it for the fame or to get rich or anything like that. They are doing it to help bring closure to the families.
Yeah, which makes it all that much more awesome, because you can tell that they just want to help people.
Yep.
So in order to help police, they removed the plate from the back of the car while it's still underwater, and then they called local police with the news. The front two windows were up all the way, and the back two windows were cracked, probably to allow water to come into the car when it entered the lake, is what my assumption would be, and I'm sure that's what their assumption was too. The car is full of mud, so they're unable to see anything inside of the vehicle. Like I said, they call local police, and a dive team comes out with a tow truck, and they rig the car up to be pulled out from the lake. The officers are visibly emotional about the discovery and tell Britton and Jeremy that they're doing more good than they think. One officer says he has searched the lake many times over the years looking for any sign of her car, and that he's happy to be able to check this one off the books before he retires. It was such a sweet moment. The cops come, and they're just so grateful that these people are there and helping them. And you can tell that the older cop that's planning on retiring soon, he meant it. He had been searching for her for years.
It had been bugging him.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah, it's just I'm sure it was such a huge relief for them to be able to close that case.
Yep.
It was really eerie though, watching the car come up out of the water covered in all of those mussels and mud. Basically, I mean, you could tell it was a car, but it looked like something out of a movie. It didn't look real.
Real. Yes.
And a Facebook post from the Oak Ridge Police Department on November 10th of 2021 stating that her car was found was commented on by a man named John Olson, who claimed to be Miriam's grandson. He wrote, "Bless you all for your hard work, and I pray for some long-needed closure for my family." John unfortunately passed away in October of 2022.
Just recently. Wow.
Very recently. But it was it was so good to see that he knew that she had been found.
Yes.
And that he could get that closure too before he unfortunately passed away as well.
Yep. On November 24th, 2021, Jeremy posted another video to his channel showcasing Erin and Jeremy's case. In the video, he searches a large lake located between Sparta and where their friend's party was the night they went missing. It doesn't take long for him to find a car under the water, and he gears up and dives down to check it out. Unfortunately, the car is white, not black, with a chrome-plated front bumper. It is not Erin's car. In a follow-up video that premiered on December 4th, 2021, Jeremy Sides makes his way back to Sparta, Tennessee to look at 3 different locations. The first location he investigates is the river off of Cane Hollow Road boat ramp. Steve Page, the local sheriff, informed Jeremy there was one known car that had gone into the water about 4 months prior. This is the only car found. The second location was an area where Jeremy Bechtel was known to fish on occasion, 3 Island boat ramp. Nothing is found. The third area is Calf Killer River, which runs along the road to Erin Foster's house at the time of her disappearance. One of Jeremy Bechtel's family members saw the first video that Jeremy Sides posted and actually reached out to the White County Sheriff, Steve Page. The family informed Page of Sides' search and suggested looking in the river. Page contacted Sides and told him about the possible location of the car, and Jeremy got to work. Lead investigator Major John Meadows, who actually went to school with Erin and Jeremy and subscribed to the theory that they had ran away, said that as far as he knew, the river was never physically searched at that location. Sides found a car sitting about 13 feet under the surface of the water. The outline is so crystal clear on that sonar. Mm-hmm. And it definitely resembles the shape and features of the 1988 Grand Dam. Just like in the Miriam Hemphill case, he marks the car with a magnet on a rope and gears up to dive down and check it out. Once he gets down to the car, you can see that the hood is completely missing and all the windows are up. As he wipes away mud and muck, the Pontiac tag is visible. Then it happens. The license plate is revealed and matches Erin's car, 473EJR. The water is so thick with mud that it is impossible to see more than a couple of feet into the river at the point where the car was located. Meadows and other locals stated that there was no guardrail on the road in 2000, so a car or other object could have easily made its way into the water with nothing to stop it. Jeremy Sides calls Sheriff Page and tells him what he found and waits for him to arrive. When Page arrives, he immediately gives Jeremy a giant hug. Footage shows the car being pulled out of the water, rusted and weighed down with age and mud. The video ends with a photo collage of Erin and Jeremy as babies through high school. Erin's father, Cecil Foster, did an interview with Inside Edition after the car's discovery. He said he and Erin's brother Will had actually fished in that exact spot where the car was located many, many times over the years. It was just 8 miles from their family home. Cecil went on to say that he was out of town for work the night Erin disappeared. He remembers his wife calling him to tell him Erin didn't come home, and he didn't think much of it. Erin had talked about leaving and moving out before and was very well aware of the fact that she was 18. He figured she'd be back in a couple of days. Unfortunately, that wasn't the case, and she was finally laid to rest on January 23rd, 2022. Jeremy Bechtel's uncle, John England, had mixed emotions when he was finally found. He told a local news station, "It's kind of disheartening to know that they were possibly there the whole time." And he was sad that Jeremy's mother didn't live long enough to find out what had happened to him. He was understandably confused as to how no one had noticed the car before, given how often that location was frequented by fishers and kayakers. Jeremy was laid to rest on January 15th, 2022.
I'm so glad that they were found and it had happened a happy ending. I do think it's interesting that the car was in such shallow water, considering, and I did see some posts, I think it was on Facebook or maybe Reddit, of people that actually lived in that area and said that the river's height fluctuates so often because of drought and everything, and gets so low to where you can even see the bottom of the creek. In some instances. And so they thought it was really interesting that the car had never been discovered. Someone else even said that they had seen a car in the river before at some point, but didn't really think much of it, or thought it was probably a stolen vehicle that had been driven into the river from the other side.
Right.
of the road. And so even if it had been seen, nobody probably even
Put
thought.
two and two together or even considered. And just the fact that it was only 13 feet under too. Like for me, deep water is no thank you, ma'am.
Yes.
But with a car being sitting there too, that's not, you would think. But the thing that gets me the most, I think, is the fact that it was only 8 miles from her house, right down the street.
It happened so close to home. It happened so soon after they had left her house again. And it's sad because from their reports, they were looking near where the party was. They were never checking the areas around her home.
Because they were last seen, but I think in there it said they were last seen around 10 o'clock. So was that somebody at the party that had seen them?
I think that was...
So were they heading back to Erin's house and that's when it happened? Or was it after they left Erin's house from dropping off Will?
I think it was after they left Erin's house from dropping off Will. So I think people had assumed that they had made it back to the party, but there's no information about if anybody at the party saw them again after that point either. Yeah, no, it was, they had dropped Will off and then left the house again to go back to the party.
Right.
And that's when they disappeared.
The annoying thing was that it was only said they were last seen around 10 p.m. Didn't
not
say where or by who or anything like that. So that's why I had that question.
Yeah, maybe they just assumed it was it was at the party and not, who knows what kind of timeline they had.
One thing I did read and I had forgotten to make a note of was after Erin and Jeremy's car was found and, the case was finally put to rest. Remember back, there had been a lot of other leads that they were trying to follow because they had rumors and stuff that Erin and Jeremy were murdered. Well, there was somebody that reached out, a family member of one of the suspects reached out to Jeremy and his wife in gratitude because the family member had been under investigation. They had used ground penetrating sonar to check out this person's basement. They had dug up the pet cemetery. Like they had just kind of torn up their life and kind of made them the black sheep of the community because they had thought that they had something that this person had something to do
with it,
with their disappearance. And so now that their vehicle was located, this person was finally cleared and they could put that all behind them. So that, Jeremy helped the family, but he's also helped somebody else in the meantime.
Oh, that gave me chills. How sad for that person. Oh my God. And I'm sure that they lived with that for years.
Oh yeah.
And then they were just in the river the whole time. Oh, that's so sad.
But I thought it was appropriate for us to cover these since it's been about a year since the vehicles were found by Jeremy and everything was posted. So
no, I think it was a great case to cover. What a cool way to celebrate the 1-year anniversary of that. Yep. It's also not something that many people probably know about, as like some of the other cases that we talk about and want to cover. So I think it's awesome, and it's really cool to highlight the fact that there are people out there that spend their time trying to solve these cases.
Now there is like a little niche community of private citizens that are doing these dives. Like there's several other channels and stuff. I've only watched Jeremy's. I haven't seen anybody else's, but there's a community. And the thing that I found also pretty interesting is they don't do it. Another point back to they're not doing it for the fame or the fortune or anything like that was whenever they're finding these cases, because they have this little network. Let's say that there's a case closer to one of the other groups of divers, they'll reach out and say, hey, there's this case over in your area, and they'll pass it on to them so they can look at it. They can search into it because it's easier. They're closer. So they're not, trying to step over each other, trying to get the find and the stuff for themselves. They're actually working together to bring closure.
That's really, really great. I did see a lot of people were mad at Jeremy for looking for Erin and Jeremy Bechtel by himself because they're like, you should always dive in pairs.
Have somebody with you.
Can you not do that again, please? Like, thank you, but can you not do that again?
Applause, congratulations. Don't do that again, sir.
Yeah, so I thought that was sweet. But honestly, I thought it was really cool. I'm glad you brought this case to me. I had never heard of either of these.
You're welcome.
And it would honestly be really interesting to cover more of these because they're just so different and unusual and
weird.
And weird. Exactly. Which is why we're here, for the weird stuff.
You know, with the holidays coming up, things are going to be a little hectic and crazy in our houses. So if the posting schedule gets a little, I don't know, kicked on the face, apologies in advance.
Yeah, we will have new episodes. They just might not be every Wednesday on the dot, but we will definitely be getting out some new content to y'all as we can. So keep looking forward to those new episodes. And thank you so much for tuning in and listening. We really appreciate all of your support. And until next time, stay safe.
Make good choices.
Bye.
Bye.